TikTok is probably my favorite place ever to find conspiracy theories. There's just so much content on that app, and it's honestly unfiltered, and I feel like it's just a breeding ground for a lot of cool and interesting conspiracy theories that we've never really heard of before. So today's video is going to be a TikTok conspiracy theories video talking about some of the most interesting conspiracy theories that I have found on TikTok recently. So without further ado, let's get into it. Alright, the first theory I want to talk about has been circulating for actually kind of a long time, and it is the theory that Garth Brooks is actually a serial killer. I honestly feel like I'm the only person on the planet who has no clue who Garth Brooks is. I guess he is like a very, very famous country singer. I don't really listen to country music. I honestly feel like I've never even heard his name before, which is very concerning because apparently he is like one of the most famous American country singers. I don't know. I've never heard literally any of these songs before. Maybe I live under a rock, unsure. But either way, there has been a very popular conspiracy theory for years about how Garth Brooks is actually a serial killer. So this theory actually kind of stems from this comedian, Tom Segura, who began referencing Garth Brooks's weird energy on his podcast, Your Mom's House. And him and his wife kind of started talking about how Garth has an extremely strange and awkward social media presence and how his eyes look really hollow and how he like looks dead behind the eyes, all that stuff.
Forced, and it just sends shivers down.
I like that.
I really like that.
Bringing us closer together.
I really like that.
And it kind of became a running joke, but then it turned into a darker conspiracy theory that he is actually a serial killer.
You know about this Garth Brooks thing? And people will go like, what? And they're like, there's like a legit theory that he's a serial killer. And you see people go, what the f-? I'm like, does he know? And he's like, yeah, of course he knows. And I asked, like, how does he take it? He goes, he's confused by it, doesn't get it at all. So the next time I ran into this dude, I guess he had turned a little bit from like, I'm confused by this to like, hey, I don't like this shit that this guy is doing. Found out who I was, and he said that Garth, when people bring it up to him, shows them the video of me breaking my arm and like falling, trying to dunk, and he goes, karma.
We sent our guys
He
out.
was on the Jumbotron.
What now?
Zolo was on the Jumbotron in Houston at the stadium show. And he held up like, we love you, Garth sign. And then he dropped it. And underneath it, it said, where are the bodies, G? And it's on the fucking Jumbo. We got tagged a million times that night.
So apparently Garth Brooks' social media presence is overall just kind of weird. Like, it seems very uncanny valley and off. Just kind of forced, and a lot of people I guess have noticed and started paying attention to his social media and thought it was kind of bizarre how there's almost no presence outside of his professional music career. Like, there's no personality or just like him being a regular human. So a lot of people started to say that his page just seems so strangely artificial. So that's where the sleuths of the internet come in, because obviously I feel like the internet, you know, we're conspiracy theorists, we pick out anything. And a lot of people started to notice that apparently this has happened several different times, where there have been several people that go missing in cities the same night that Garth Brooks was performing in these cities. Now, apparently there's also been murders that were linked to these cities that lined up with the timeline of Garth Brooks' tour. I guess it's just interesting, like, could it be a coincidence? 100%, but is it kind of weird? Yeah. I just think it's kind of strange, and most notably, these cases are usually cases of missing women who were never found, and sometimes other people who were murdered in the same city that Garth Brooks was performing in at the same time. And I don't know if I believe this conspiracy theory overall, but it has become quite the theory that a lot of people are talking about. I feel like I can't get a read on this man. Whenever I watch his social media stuff, he is like strange and kind of uncanny valley to me. Do I think that necessarily means he's a serial killer? No, but would I put it past anyone? No. I do think it's interesting when serial killers have like this kind of double life vibe. Obviously he wasn't famous, but like Ted Bundy was like a super ew. My like string of lights fell and that scared the fuck out of me. Obviously Ted Bundy wasn't famous, but he had like this kind of aura of being like super charming, and I'm sure a lot of people like dated Ted Bundy but then obviously weren't killed by him. But I could just imagine that people think that this is a similar situation where he kind of just has a double life. And I think it's kind of interesting. I don't know why so many people believe this theory, because there are murders that happen every day and like terrible things and people go missing, but the coincidences are there. So Let me know what you guys think. All right, this next TikTok talks about how the government is actually way dumber than you think.
Maybe I'm going to start dealing with believing what's his name?
What's his name?
That dumb football player.
What?
Aaron Rodgers.
Wait, what does he say?
I don't know. He's a conspiracy nut.
Oh, don't do that.
I'm not a conspiracy nut. You know why? Because I don't believe people can actually keep secrets.
Oh my God. Can I confirm that? Having worked in the government, so many people are like, this is a government conspiracy. I'm like, kids, it's not. We're not that competent. It's just the dummies that you know doing their best.
Right.
Like, the idea that we could cover up anything is laughable. Like, we're just not. There's just too many people.
Yes.
Like, think about how many leaks come out of everything.
The moving parts alone.
So the reason I found this TikTok to be very interesting is because I do think that a lot of people say contradicting theories when it comes to the government, the Illuminati, all this stuff. They talk about how the government is like so stupid and is incompetent about anything and basically just like overall dumb. And liars and all this stuff, but then they also think that they're hiding some of the most crazy, insane secrets of all time. I do think the government has secrets, don't get me wrong, but I do think that for the most part, we would probably hear at least talks of things that are real, if that makes sense. Like, I think we would hear a lot of stories. Like, is it probably worse than we imagine? Sure. But a lot of conspiracy theories, I kind of think maybe those are like the jumping points from, you know, all of this hearsay coming down from people who worked in the government or work in the government. That's kind of how celebrity rumors get started as well. Like, obviously there are a lot of people and people can't fucking keep secrets. So many other conspiracy theories that we have heard of, those are probably like some of the biggest government secrets that are actually not so secret. But I just don't know how it would be statistically possible for them to contain a lot of stuff. I guess a lot of people think that they kill people, which is actually going to be the next TikTok that we're going to talk about, is how there have been a ton of different whistleblowers who have tried to expose various things in the government that have been killed. So whistleblower deaths are not necessarily new, of course, but there are a couple that really freaked me out. This one in particular, this TikToker is talking about, just was insane.
1995, this aerospace engineer, Philip Taylor Kramer, called his friends in a frantic state saying that he just made a discovery that was world-changing. He then disappeared. His car was found at the bottom of a canyon 4 days later. Let's dive into what happened. So PTK was a rock star from the 1970s band Iron Butterfly. He later left music to pursue physics and engineering and would work on cutting aerospace technology. He specialized in communications, optical data transmission, and time-space physics. He was reportedly working on a theory for faster-than-light communication. If proved correct, this would revolutionize science and military technology. It would revolutionize a lot of things. Others reported that he was working on anti-gravity and time manipulation as well. Apparently, he was making some big breakthroughs, and on February 12, 1995, he called his wife and then he called some friends. He sounded a little bit frantic and he said, "Hey, I'll see you soon, but it's not going to be on this plane." He was at LAX. He was last seen driving to LAX and he was never found. The car was never found for 4 years. Until one day in 1999, some hikers found it at the bottom of a ravine. Inside were skeletal remains. The authorities, of course, said suicide. What's crazy is that area had been searched multiple times. Why wasn't it found for 4 years? Crash also was not consistent with the high-speed accident. And of course, his friends and family said that he would never take his own life. He was too excited about the work that he was doing. So what are the theories? The number one, assassinated for his discoveries. Whether military or corporate forces, people believe that he was because he was being too revolutionary. Some claimed that he was getting too close to UFO technology and the government did not like that. Others believe that he may have experimented on himself and that experiment went south, which led to his But why was his car gone for 4 years? Was he actually on the verge of breaking science as we know it, or was he just a little woo? What do you think? But the one thing that is true is the freaking transition from rock star to scientist is like unparalleled.
This reminded me of 3 other cases that I want to talk about that have to do with different whistleblowers getting killed. I think one that is very important to know is the case of John Barnett, who was the Boeing whistleblower that mysteriously died in 2024. So obviously with everything that's going on with planes right now and aviation just seems very, very scary. John Barnett was someone who had worked at Boeing for decades. He knew exactly how the company operated behind the scenes, and in early 2024, he was set to testify in a major lawsuit against Boeing. John Barnett planned to expose dangerous safety issues, including the fact that allegedly Boeing was using defective parts in its planes. Just days before John Barnett was set to speak out and talk about this in a court setting, he died. He was found dead in his car from a self-inflicted gunshot wound, which makes absolutely no sense. His family and his colleagues, his friends, just were floored by this and said that he had no history of mental illness or any intent that he was going to take his own life, and he was also actively preparing to testify. It just didn't make sense. A lot of people believe, including myself, that this, death was a little too convenient for Boeing. Like, I just think it's weird as hell that happened. And, right before this man is supposed to, expose the full extent of Boeing's alleged negligence in regards to aviation, this man just dies? What? No, I don't believe that. And it's scary. It's very scary to me. Especially right now, honestly, just looking back on this, because it was obviously last year, but everything that's going on planes with this year, I don't fucking like it. I don't like it. Taking it back in time, another interesting one was Dr. Frank Olson. So Dr. Frank Olson is a scientist who was killed because he knew too much about MK Ultra. So Dr. Frank Olson was a government scientist who was working on top secret biological warfare projects in the 1950s, and he allegedly became very disturbed by what he saw, aka which was horrific CIA experiments that were on human subjects. Dr. Olson had planned to quit and go public with this information and all the stuff that the CIA was hiding, and days later he fell from the 13th floor of a hotel window in New York City, and the official report was ruled a suicide, but a lot of people believe that he was pushed. His family actually fought this for years. They did not believe that he took his own life, so they ended up being able to prove later on that Dr. Olson had actually been drugged before his death, and this was just a closed case. No one ever cared about it or is wondering about what happened, probably because maybe allegedly the CIA was involved. That's scary. I don't like that. I just think that there are so many scenarios where these whistleblowers died right before they were about to spread a lot of information, and I don't fucking like that. That's scary to me. Don't like it. But what are your guys' thoughts? Alright, on a bit of a lighter note, sort of, the next TikTok I want to talk about is about Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande. This has been blowing the fuck up on TikTok lately. I guess a lot of people think that Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande are secretly in a relationship. This has kind of been going on ever since the iconic Wicked press tour. Obviously, everyone remembers and knows that this was just a very, that they were always, holding hands and crying every 5 seconds. It seemed very like a woman loving women relationship, if you ask me. There's a little bit of proof of sort of this theory in a way. It's basically the idea that Cynthia Erivo's girlfriend, Lena Waithe, is not so happy about Cynthia and Ariana's relationship. So Lena Waithe and Cynthia Erivo were friends in 2018 and 2019. Lena was actually married to someone else named Alana Mayo, but Alana and Lena parted ways in 2020, and it was speculated that Cynthia and Lena's relationship kind of had an overlap with Lena's marriage, but that's not actually been proven to be true, and they didn't really confirm their relationship until 2022. So I find it kind of interesting, obviously, with the whole Ethan Slater, Ariana, that whole thing, that this was potentially a similar situation. I'm not saying it was the same. Maybe they were just friends, but it is interesting. But Lena recently actually posted this meme about Ariana and Cynthia being very annoying on the Wicked press tour, just being insufferable. It's a meme, so it wasn't that big of a deal. I didn't think it was that dramatic. Would I be kind of annoyed if if I was Ariana and my friend's girlfriend posted that? Maybe. I think I would be ew. But then Lena posted something that just, I would be pissed if I was Cynthia in this case. She posted a quote that said, "Maturity in a relationship is when you catch your mind as it is, creating a false story about your partner which is based on inner tension." So I have some theories about this. I don't think Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo are dating. I'll say it, I don't think they are. I just don't, it's, they kind of give vibes, but also they kind of just give such theater kid vibes, I don't know. It feels like high school lesbians that don't know they're lesbians yet. Do you know what I mean? One of those weird woman loving women relationships that nothing ever actually happens. You're just very emotionally best friends with this person, but obviously they're adults. Cynthia is like out, so like I don't really know why it would be like that, but I don't know. But something that I think could be true as to why Lena posted these memes and this text post is because probably she feels insecure because literally the entire internet is like shipping her girlfriend with Ariana Grande. I would be pissed too if my girlfriend was being publicly shipped by everyone with Ariana Grande. I would scream. That is so chaotic. And also the fact that everyone's saying like Cynthia and Ari have this like special connection and whatever. So I think that what she was saying in the text post, like the maturity in a relationship is when you catch your mind creating a false story about your partner. I think that's interesting because she probably sees all of this stuff on TikTok and whatever about Cynthia and Ariana being in love, and she's probably like detaching herself, being like, that's not the case, like I know my partner. Do you know what I mean? Like I think she's like kind of posting that to make herself feel better about the situation. I don't know, but like, not saying I think Ariana and Cynthia are actually even dating, but I would be insecure about that too, just because that's life, you know? I want to hear your guys' thoughts though. Do you think they're dating? I just have never been, I don't know. I don't know. I don't really see it, but I also feel like they do have such an interesting connection. But it also just feels so theater kid. I can't explain it, but let me know. All right, the next TikTok is about Dora the Explorer, and I cannot believe that I've never heard this before. It's terrifying.
Do you know about the real intention behind Dora the Explorer? So if you were alive around the same time as me, you would remember this iconic intro. And as it is going through the house and the song is playing, we find it stop at the computer where Dora is. Now it's important to note that computer in Spanish ends in Dora. So the TV series Dora the Explorer is all about the internet. The intro is telling us that Dora's world is in the computer. Her world is the internet. Dora is an internet explorer, but it literally gets crazier. We all know that Swiper is the villain in the show. Swiper the fox. Back when Internet Explorer was more popular, its rival was Firefox. So does Swiper represent Firefox? Is the whole show alluding to their rivalry? And it's made by Internet Explorer, perhaps to subconsciously promote to use their company versus Firefox.
So that theory just actually has to be true. There's no way that that's not true, and I don't like it at all. Apparently, people in the comments are like, wait, you didn't know this? Who the fuck knew that? Who the fuck knew that? I didn't. Yeah, you're right. I didn't know that. I didn't. And it's crazy because I do so many childhood ruining conspiracy theories videos, and that just ruined my childhood, and I've never heard of it before. Let me know your thoughts. Do you believe it? I think it's literally true, so I don't know. All right, the next TikTok conspiracy theory that I want to talk about is the Netflix FOMO conspiracy theory. So this is such an interesting take. I saw this in a TikTok, and I was like, holy shit, I think this is true. And it's basically the idea that every time Netflix releases a new show, they pretend like it's a massive hit and that everyone is watching it, regardless if people are actually watching it, just so it manufactures like a hype and manipulates social media trends and artificially inflates viewership numbers to create, you know, a FOMO, fear of missing out. And that tricks people into watching content that they wouldn't have otherwise cared about. I think that this theory has to be true because the most random things will like go absolutely viral and everyone will be talking about it when Netflix drops a documentary, a new series, whatever. It's like sensational, honestly. I don't see it happen with literally any other platform. So I kind of think that this could be true. And I think they do it in a couple different ways. For one, could they be like using internet bots that are just claiming that they've seen the show and that everyone's seen it and everyone's talking about it in order to get like that kind of hype? Maybe. Or are they paying real people to get the trend started? That's another interesting theory. And I just think that they kind of also can put whatever TV show they're trying to promote on the like popular now section of their front page on Netflix. Like obviously they do that, but they could literally say that anything is number one currently. They're not showing us the literal statistics, so they could just put their new shows all at number one. I know this sounds like basic marketing now that I think about it, but like I've been bamboozled by this before. I have. I also think that Netflix definitely uses social media and trends to just like get, you know, memes, all that stuff to get their shows and movies to blow up. Bird Box, I feel like within hours of Bird Box's release, the whole blindfold meme blew up all over the internet, and that's a movie I would have never normally watched on my own because I'm not really that into scary movies, but I watched it because I was like, I have to understand where the fuck this meme is coming from. That's why I watched it. Was I scared for weeks? Yeah. And then also the Wednesday trend. Like, I remember that was the dance scene from Wednesday with the Lady Gaga song in the background was literally a viral TikTok overnight and made so many people watch Wednesday. And I just think it's so interesting. I wonder if they hire influencers and other people to like kind of get these things going. But I just think it's so interesting. And I think Netflix is using the fear of missing out as a marketing tactic 100%. I love this theory. All right, the last TikTok theory I want to talk about, strap in. It's kind of a long one, and it is a very dark theory about time travel.
Today we're going to be talking about John Titor. Now this has to do with time travel, UFOs, world wars. It's going to be very long and we have a lot to get through, so get a snack. Now, John Titor was a personality that popped up in November of 2000 claiming to be a time traveler from the year 2036. He popped up on online forums, which is very fucking old. It's pre-wireless internet, before any sort of social media. I'm assuming it's kind of like Twitter. You make a post, people can read it. I don't fucking know, I wasn't born. John was actually only active on these forums for 4 months, from November of 2000 to March of 2001. John had stated that within his timeline, World War III had broken out in 2013. Clearly that didn't happen for us, but we'll get into why later. Now before this, in 2005, John said that a civil war broke out in the US between the US people and the US government. Fucking accurate. Around 2010 or 2011, Russia had gotten involved, declaring war on the US and siding with the people. They began bombing major cities within the US to try and create the downfall of the US government. Within this time frame, other countries just jumped in on that shit, and World War III happened. John had stated that his grandfather had worked with a piece of technology back in 1975, and this piece of technology held the function that could translate anything into any language, including the language of code. This piece of technology was the IBM 5100, a very old computer that came out in September of 1975. John's mission was to go back in time, get this piece of technology, and take it back to his timeline to try and help progress. Now, John is telling us this 25 years later, after the mission was already completed. As to why he was back, I'm not really sure. Really unimportant to the story, but John had said that he was actually able to go to his parents and convince them that he was their son. And for years, he lived within their home. He lived with his child self, like when he was a baby. Which, like, sure, you don't have to believe it, but like, we're gonna go over why I believe it. But that's just fucking weird. Now again, John had disappeared in March of 2001. Now everybody kind of thought John was bullshitting because this computer was not known to hold this function whatsoever. It was not publicly known at all. Later in 2001, after John's disappearance, the IBM actually came out and claimed that this function was factual. It actually did exist within this computer. And the only reason they kept it silent was so their competitors could not get a hold of it. Within this 4-month time period of John being active on these online forums, he was very open to questions, especially the ones about time travel. And he did not hold back as to explain how it worked and everything. There's actually a lot of photos if you want to go to his posts. There's a website, johntitor.com. It shows everything. It's very helpful. I'm going to put his posts a little out of order just simply to make this more understandable. But John had stated that CERN, a corporation that's kind of quiet within the world, was going to be the first one to make the theory of black hole travel, which is using black holes to time travel, pretty much. Now, many years after John had said this, CERN actually came out with that theory. And since then, they have been playing with black holes and testing them for fucking years. Another fucking thing that John knew, and he fucking shouldn't. John said that time travel was possible because of 2 black holes called microsingularities. If you eject electrons onto them and alter their spin, it creates a gravity field that allows you to move back and forth within time. John also said that his time machine weighed 500 pounds. It was the size of a suitcase. So easily being able to transport this around was very difficult. So how did they troubleshoot that? They put it in a fucking car. Yes, like Back to the Future. John traveled back and forth within time in a car. A car that I guess he would just hide in the fucking woods or something so nobody knew about it. John had also went over the theory that time is not linear like we believe. It is not back and forth within time. He actually went into the theory of parallel universe. The metaphor he used was a funhouse mirror. No matter what direction you look, there is infinite numbers of yourself. When you walk forward or backward, so does your reflection. That is how time travel works. When you walk within time, so does all of your alternate selves. There has to be at least one of you in every single timeline, which makes it impossible for you to enter your timeline when you come back. They will be very similar, but there will be minor differences within your timeline. And that is the same with who comes back. So if John was in this timeline and he traveled to this timeline, he would come back in this timeline. But the person who entered back to this timeline would be him, but with minor differences. It is not the same version of him. It's someone from a parallel universe, but is him, if that makes sense. It's very fucking weird, but that's how it works, I guess. Now, John was very good at posting drawings and diagrams and pictures of his car onto these posts. Pictures that to this day scientists have not been able to find the origin of whatsoever. Pictures that scientists have actually studied for years and said that his math and scientific facts are astonishing. This man knows what he's fucking talking about. And it's science that we haven't even discovered yet. People used his photos to learn shit. How is that even fucking possible? Like it doesn't make sense. Now, one thing that John had also stated within one of his posts was, this is his quote, "My goal is not to be believed. Perhaps I should let you all in on a little secret. No one likes you in the future. This time period is looked at as being full of lazy, self-centered, civically ignorant sheep." Now, he is saying this in 2000, prior to the World War that had happened in his timeline. But we have went far past 2013, so I'm not really sure if this is still believed or not, but we're pretty fucked up. Now, as I said, John was very good at answering questions, but there was a few that made him very, very mad. Now, as a lot of us probably would, people wanted to know lottery winning numbers. And this would piss John off, because this timeline is known as greedy, money-hungry assholes. And John did not like that. He had also stated that within his timeline, mass media was just fucking garbage. It was always some filtered bullshit that they would give the public that wouldn't even inform them of what was actually going on. So they turned to content creators, which back in 2000 wasn't even a fucking thing. YouTube, nothing existed. So for him to talk about content creators and people turning away from the news and towards other people who do research is fucking insane. Yet 1000% accurate. That's literally what we do on TikTok.
So the reason I found this theory so interesting is because John Titor didn't actually just make predictions. He also provided technical explanations of how time travel actually worked. And a lot of physicists later noted that his explanations were actually eerily close to the real theoretical physics, far beyond what the average internet troll would know. I don't know. I don't know if I believe that this is real, but it freaks me the fuck out. I don't like to think about time travel. But I also kind of agree, I think the butterfly effect is a thing. I think that could be the theory and the truth behind the Mandela effect. I don't know. I just think it's weird. It's really weird, and I don't like it. And I also don't like thinking about time being linear, and even though I, know that time actually has, it's a social construct, that freaks me the fuck out. It's actually insane how much that scares me. Anyway, that is it for today's video. If you guys liked it, please give it a big thumbs up. Let us know in the comments below what you guys think of these different TikTok theories, and definitely tag me in any TikToks that you see that you want me to talk about. But that is it. Make sure you follow me on Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram, and subscribe for new videos every week, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.